Good morning, everybody. Hang in there, last presentation before the lunch. That's going to be a light one, and you are going to be very happy because you are going to travel like a small bark beetle and fly from the Sonian forest where we are, straight forward to Poland and finishing in Latvia. So, bad jokes about the bark beetle, but that's also going to be the subject. We are going to speak about the position and the experience of the public sectors regarding sanitary issues, which kind of challenge they encounter, how they react to that, and which kind of solution they lack. We are going to begin with Frédéric Vaz, a local guy. Frédéric, you are the head of the Department of Bruxelles Environnement. It's a big responsibility with our beautiful Sonian forest. And Bruxelles Environnement is the agency managing all environmental subjects in the region of Bruxelles Capital. And you will be followed by Agatha Oshilo. I'm sorry if I mispronounce the name. Agatha is Associate Professor and Earth Observation Data Scientist at the Institute of Environmental Protection. And that institute is specializing in satellite data for environmental monitoring and climate reporting. And last but not least, Yanis Gamanis, you are going to close that session. Also heavy responsibility, you are the last one before the lunch. And Yanis is member of the management board of Riga Mezzi, and Riga Mezzi is responsible, as you understood this morning, of the management of all sustainable management, of Riga's forest and green infrastructure. So Frédéric, floor is yours. Looking forward to begin here that journey, and I let you.
Thank you. I heard a lot of high-tech things today. I consider myself as a forester. A low-tech forester. And as been mentioned, my green office is only a few hundred meters further that way. I'm a manager of the Sonian forest. I'm not gonna explain how Belgium is functioning, but I'm working in the Brussels part of the Sonian forest, and there are still two parts in other regions with other legislation. But luckily, as foresters, we talk with each other. What are we monitoring? And most of the things are monitored by the boots on the ground. I've got still 7 forest guards active on a surface of 1,650 hectares, and we are following the health, the tree condition, sanitary condition of our main tree species, which are Fagus sylvatica, Quercus petraea, and Quercus robur. How do we do that? We do that in a visual way, as with several different methods. Maybe you know them, but it's visual and it's done repeatedly already since 2009. And what can we see? And for the record, we added some tree species we are very interested in too. That is the ash and the Scots pine. Ash is rather rare in the Sonian forest, but nevertheless a very important one because we are in Natura 2000 zone and we've got very specific habitats with ash trees. The protocols that are used, I'm not gonna explain them in detail. What's important is to see what are these results we are detecting over the years. And what is interesting is the blue graph. And the blue graph shows the health status of beech. Knowing that 7 trees on the 10, of 7 out of 10 trees in the Sonian forest are beech. We are very interested in beech trees and its health. And there you see one effect that's probably due to climate change. When you see there is a cycle, a biannual cycle due to mast years or abundant fruit years of the beech. And when there are a lot of seeds on the beech trees, we see immediately an effect on the tree health. You see that condition of beach is rather poor. What is presented is the defoliation. It's more than 30% on beech trees on average, but it seems to stabilize. And we compare it with other regions, and we see parallel evolutions with the other regions, with an exception for oak in the Walloon region. The condition of oak is very poor in the Walloon region, probably due to the fact that a lot of oaks have been planted on soils that are not really suited for this tree species. So the conclusions we draw from these follow-ups are the next ones. You can see the 2025 observations show that the health status of oaks and Scots pines is satisfactory, with the exception of one sessile oak individual. You see, we do very individual analysis and inventorials. The beeches are in a degraded condition, but they appear to be entering a recovery phase following a period of significant decline in 2022. Ash trees are degraded, and recently, this winter, we are losing at a large scale very big specimens, probably due to the drought of last year. And we hope to make possible to understand better the effects of extreme climate events on the health status of beeches, and to identify the causes of fluctuations observed in oaks. Links with growth, fruiting, and potential stresses related to logging operations will also need to be investigated. I've heard talking about wildfire management. It's a hot item. And we did already some risk analysis on the level of the forest. For example, all the conifer stands have been documented. All the accessible roads and paths inside of the forest have been cartographied, or yes, drawn on card. And we have also detected where we have got a vegetation of bracken. And you will maybe ask yourself, why bracken? Bracken is a tree fern, is a fern species which is very dry in winter. Its leaves are dying back, and we are aware that they're very sensitive to wildfire, especially in the months of February, March, and April. We've elaborated a very detailed fire procedure, and that we did with the other regions, and it will be updated almost every 5 years. And recently we entered into the risk analysis and fire procedure considered on a national level, which is called the Belgian Wildfire Network. Besides that, we've got a very detailed forest inventory, and you see that the grid that's been laid on the forest, it's the most dense forest inventory on planetary scale, I think. And what's important to see for Sonian forest, you see the dominance of the beech trees. All the blue in the pie chart is beech. 7 out of the 10 trees are beech trees, which makes the forest rather vulnerable, certainly knowing that due to climate change in 2100, beech probably is not being able to grow still on the plateaus in the Sonian forest. So we are preparing the future, and for example, in our management plan, we foresee to reduce the presence of beech with 10% in 2043. What's very interesting, and you have to know that the whole of the Sonian forest is Natura 2000, is that we have an obligation for Natura 2000 to have a certain amount of dead wood, and that could be contradictory with wildfire management, but we are very proud to say that we are already passing the level of 10% of the standing volume, knowing that we are at 34 cubic meters of dead wood per hectare. So that was the last slide, apparently, or did I miss something? Normally there should be another slide, but it's missing, no problem. What we are doing still ongoing is making an individual inventory of our target trees and habitat trees on the level of the whole forest. And for example, what's very interesting to know that the number of very large trees, and a very large tree is a tree that is bigger than 80 centimeters of diameter at DBH. We've got more than 6 very large trees per hectare, which is rather exceptional and which is comparable to primary beech forest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frédéric. Maybe you can stay with me for 1 minute as we are good on time for once. I don't know if you guys have questions for Frédéric. If you don't, or there are some here. I don't know if is there another mic? Yeah, perfect. I think it's very interesting also, Frédéric, to know that the forest you're managing, maybe you guys are not living in Belgium or in Brussels, are not aware of that, but the social impact of that forest is tremendous. So the way you need to deal with the public, the number of people working in that forest is very high. So it's a particular case and very interesting.
I can hear you, hardly, but...
Okay, yeah, nice. Thank you very much, really interesting presentation. You mentioned that you have developed fire management, you're doing fire management related activities. At the same time, it's Natura protected forest. Could you explain a bit in few words, which exactly like fire related, like risk reduction activities you are doing? And if so, because yeah, exactly as you said, it's a bit contradictory or difficult to understand. Of course, to follow regulations about biodiversity probably and deadwood, at the same time fire-related risks. If you could open up a bit, thank you.
Yes, 2 weeks ago I was still in Spain talking about wildfire management with managers, and it was in the southern part of Spain, and they said almost 99% of all the wildfires are induced by human interventions, by accident or wanted. And there, to come back to your question, the main issue for us is to raise awareness with people, because like has been said, it's an urban forest, in fact, that's at the brink of the Brussels capital. And with a lot of people living next to the forests, when there are serious drought periods, we've got a lot of emails coming with, what are you doing to manage wildfire? What if? So that's what we are trying to reach people, to make them aware of the risks of making fire. Is that an answer to your question?
Yeah, I was very interested to hear that you're trying to reduce the proportion of beech in favor of the other species. That's what we try to do in most of our beech-dominated forests. But while the mature one may be decaying, you still have the understory of beech very active. In this very particular context where I've heard and I guess that you have difficulties doing loggings due to the proximity to the public. Do you log enough to actually reduce the proportion of beech in favor to the other trees?
These are in fact two questions in one, but we feel the pressure of the public, and they are very reactive. And knowing that Brussels for me is a little village, when we We got some planes concerning beaches that are cut down. It's immediately the politicians that are in our back. So I have to be very careful. Do we do enough? I think we do enough. It's going very slowly, it's very gradually. We don't proceed anymore by clear cuts, but by single tree selection system. So we are preparing the field to introduce other tree species, but otherwise, if you're talking with foresters who manage beech forests, they talk about the beech hell, meaning that in the understore, actually there's a lot of natural regeneration of beech, which makes natural regeneration with other species very difficult. So we have to do it artificially. But it's working, and it's going slowly but steadily.
Thank you.
And I think for the other question, we'll have to wait the lunch break, maybe 30 seconds. I've got one question. If you could create yourself the perfect technology to support you in your management, which kind of technology would it be?
30 seconds, whoa. I've been thinking, we are talking sometimes about LiDAR technology. It's been mentioned during some presentations here too. And apparently it's possible to modelize the forest and the forest management in time series. That's something that would interest me very much, to see the effect of our management in time in a 3-dimensional scale.
So for the technology guys in the room, get at work. Thank you very much. The next speaker, I think, is online, is Agatha. Agatha, I don't know if you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah, we can hear you, and I will let you introduce yourself. And I think, yeah, we are on your first slide, so you just pronounce the word slide when you want us to change.
Yeah, my name is Agata Huściu. I'm representing the Institute of Environmental Protection, National Research Institute, and we are collaborating with the State Forest in the matter of, let's say, methodological approach for using Sentinel-2 data for forest monitoring, in particular forest monitoring of forest damages. So please, next slide. I will give you some details about our forest in Poland. So it's approximately 30% of the country is covered by forests, which is 9.4 million hectares. It's quite a large area to monitor and manage. In terms of ownership, 80% of the forest is publicly owned, and out of it, 77% is managed by the State Forest, National Forest Holding. So the State Forest has a very nice and system for managing and for monitoring forest at the stand level. And so they are using different techniques, and in terms of the forest species composition, our forest is predominantly is the coniferous forest, as you can see, around 68.6%, and the rest is the deciduous forest. In terms of coniferous trees, the pine is the main tree species. Please, next slide. It's the forest condition, as in whole Europe. The forest condition is actually declining, or it's stabilizing at the moment. But in many places in Poland, in coniferous, but also in the broadleaf forest, we're observing the decline of the forest condition due to the various reasons, droughts and insects like bark beetles, that was already mentioned a couple of times today. and especially in the areas where the forest is actually established on the former farmland soil, so it's more agriculture habitats that was converted into forest after the Second World War. And that's why it's very important to have a system and to have to develop the methodology for large scale forest monitoring that would cover the whole country. And for that the dense time series of Sentinel-2 data can be very helpful and can help to track the annual dynamics of forest condition. And please, next slide. And for that, we've been involved in the project. It's a pilot project funded by the State Forest, in which the main aim was to use the Sentinel-2 data to test the Sentinel-2 data for forest monitoring and for detecting early detection of forest decline. And this project is, as I said, is a pilot project, and at the moment is in the testing phase. So we are covering the whole country, and it's based on a time series of Sentinel-2 data. We are using Sentinel A, B, and C. And the methodology is based on a combination of spectral indices, and where we compare two periods. I will show in a second how we do it. And based on the three indices, we develop the forest condition index. And this index is run every month is calculated based on the monthly mosaics that are calculated from the pure pixels and contaminated pixels. The whole process is actually done using the cloud. What's the name? CreoDias. It's and using the Python. The codes are written in the Python language. And please, next slide. It's how we do it. We actually provide two sets of alerts. The first one is compare month to month. So June, and we cover the vegetation period, June, July, August, September. So it's the alerts are monthly alerts. So the changes between June, July, August, September. And then also we provide the year-to-year alerts. So, and the yearly alerts are like month June year number N compared to the June a year before. So that's how it works. So the two types of alerts are provided. Although we are actually providing the information where we see, based on the satellite data, the decline in forest decline. Let's say we are not separating between the clear cuts and forest damages. So this is done in the post-processing phase. Using the ancillary data from the state forest, when they have the information about the clear cuts and thinnings and all the activities that were done in the forest and were planned and that are part of the forest management. So this is part of the post-processing. And please, next slide. And here is the example of the alerts that were produced for the month June 2025. It's over the whole country, and with the these are, let's say, we call it high severe changes. We distinguish two types of changes. One is with the very high probability that change occurred, and the second class is with moderate probability. And so this information are provided to the foresters on the ground, so they can use and they can use it in the field and verify it and use for the identification of the areas and for further actions. And please, next slide. Here, a couple of examples how it looks like. It's, you can see here situation in June 2024 satellite image. This is actually the mosaic. And then June 2025, and the alerts in two classes, moderate and high severity. As you can see, maybe visually it's maybe it's not easy to distinguish looking at the sentinel images, but the algorithms picked up the places where the changes occurred. And these alerts are, as I already mentioned, are sent to the foresters on the ground. And this is the example of the year-to-year alerts. And the next slide, please. Next slide, please. And this is also quite interesting example when we compare month to month within the same year. So as you can see, in June, there are just a few spots with this, let's say, hot spots with these alerts, and then with time, this the area of the hotspots is increasing because, as you can see on the right-hand side, this is from the orthophotos, national orthophotos, that something is going on there, and there are like single trees already died and defoliated. So this is to show that how the month-to-month algorithm alerts works. And the bottleneck is actually the cloud-free mosaics, which is produced on the monthly basis. And for example, in the mountain area, sometimes it's due to the clouds, it's difficult to derive the cloud-free mosaics, and the most difficult also is to do the best possible to select the best possible clear uncontaminated pixels for the mosaics, because this is very very important. And the last slide, please, is this our contacts to myself and to colleagues from the General Directorate of the State Forest in Poland. So thank you very much for.
Thank you very much, Agata. It was very interesting, very nice. We have the time for one question, if someone has one. I have one for you. I was wondering, so when you the alerts you were mentioning are after the damage has occurred, are you considering working with a bit like early detection things to be not curative but more preventive?
Yes, actually, because sometimes using what we've noticed that using the sentinel images, we can distinguish earlier in advance that something is going on, and it's also very very important, especially in the area. Well, the forest area in Poland is really huge there, and it's nicely managed, but there are areas that are remote areas, and not always this area is accessible for foresters. That's why this early detection is very important. Yeah, so that's why we do it also we are comparing month to month, which gives some kind of information that something is going on within the forest.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more question, if you've got one. No? Well, Agatha, then maybe for the conclusion, if you had a magic wand and you could create a technology in 1 minute to help you and help the Polish forester, what would it be in one short sentence?
Well, I think remote sensing, but it has to be done in comparison with the in situ data. So the verification and validation is very important. So the information from the ground.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Very wise
Thank
answer.
you very much.
We can give an applause to Agatha. Thank you. End of the journey, last part before lunch. Yanis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, so my colleagues already told a little bit about us. I still want to repeat that our main task as the forest managers for Riga city forests are, of course, forest management. And we all together manage 63,000 hectares that are not only in Riga city but also around Riga city. And already, as our Belgium colleagues mentioned, our situation also is really complex due to the big different kind of interests that resides in this area. So our focus, of course, is as not only as a public entity but also as the forest owner, is the accountability for everything that we do, for the way we manage the forests. So the balance with all the things that actually forest provides, the nature, the recreation, of course the economical aspect is really important, and to find the balance is our main task. And beside all that, of course, we have to ensure that all this is managed in a most sustainable way possible. So in our way of managing this is the scope from managing all the ecosystem services in more or less similar way, and it is an integrated approach that we have also been able to develop, and it also enables us to actually follow the quality of other or almost all the ecosystem services or ecosystem services groups, and to follow the quality and impact of our management. But this is not the topic that I wanted to tell you, or that I need to tell you. It's more related to the forest damage, and that is, of course, has also in forest management, as for everyone in the forest sector, has a big place. And of course, it is not only for we as a public entity, but also for every forest manager. It is a really important topic, and in our country, as everywhere else, there are three main focuses, and these are the things that I want to focus on. So it's bark beetle, windthrow, and fire risks. Sometimes there are a bit more than that, but I focus my story on these three. When we talk about the bark beetle, there are a combination. We get a big help also from our national, well, you can say government, but institutions. But in general, the things that we do to prevent, and there are not that many, but there are still some, are these pheromone traps that we use in areas that have been clear cut or that have been cut. We use, there are certain patterns, and I'm not going to go into details how to do that. Then there is a seasonal harvesting which means that all the risk areas that we know that there are limitations in what season we can actually do that. So we try to avoid, or we have to avoid the forest or harvesting in the certain areas during the active bark beetle periods. And then also the approach whenever we see that there is areas that have been infected or attacked by the bark beetle, then we have to do the really quick response. Otherwise, if all the trees are dead there, then there is almost no reason to do anything there. And then in the same time, we have a national regulation that not helps, but also manages everything that happens. And for the last 4 years, there has been a special orders given out that restricts really the forest management. And of course, these restrictions are focused on the areas that have these the areas that are most sensitive to the bark beetle attacks. So they are being prioritized, and we have the system database or forest inventory database in place in Latvia that is really detailed, and it is managed by the state, and state through this can regulate where, when, and what we can do. So in that sense, so as you can see also from the pictures, we get a really clear picture with the restrictions. As you see in the picture down on the corner, there are certain areas that have the restrictions on actually what you can do, what you can cut, or when you can cut in, and what kind of trees. Yeah. About windthrow, not that many things to say, except that there are a number of research being done that is also available for the forest owners to it's the risk mapping exercise that says where are the biggest risks for windthrow areas in order for the forest owners to sort of plan their activities accordingly, meaning that there are already certain guidelines that you can use how to orientate best your, for example, cutting exercises, so that we know what are the main wind directions, for example, and to follow these simple guidelines, you very often can minimize the risk of windthrow. Whenever the windthrow events happen, and they happen quite often, then the state regulation is a bit more flexible than every day, so you can get a really quicker permit issuing, and they are not as tight as usually we have. Forest fires. Forest fire control is actually carried out, or management of forest fires is carried out by the state. So the state is actually doing the whole supervision of forest fire control. They do the monitoring and detection. They also are the ones that carry out the forest fire control in general. So and the owner has to ensure, and every owner has that are big enough, they need to have the annual fire protection plans in place. They have to be updated and submitted every year. There are certain prevention activities that have to be in place that are set by legislation, especially in these high-risk forest fire areas that we know already, and that are actually set in our legislation. And there are certain regulations that we have to follow every day. Then, and we are, as forest owners, we are expected or obligated actually to do the every year prevention measures. And then it is up to forest managers or forest owners to to participate if there is a fire event going on, to participate actually in not only in localizing but also in the forest fire combating activities. Whenever we talk about the in general about the situation when you have a damaged stands or what we call a sanitary harvesting need, and the reason can be both bark beetle, windthrow, or forest fire. That is the reason for that. So every time we need harvesting permits that are issued by the state forest service. And in case there are larger areas that have to be that have a severe damage that have to be clear cut, so we have a mandatory requirement for the expert assessment to actually do that. And from all that, these procedures usually can be really slow. It can take many months to actually get a permit, which is the problem very often. Then if the age allows, forest owners use the we have an age limit for when you can go and cut the trees, so very often this is used because it's quicker. When we narrow it down also to the things that we have outlined for us, for example, is that we see that the information flow in within our organization, and also when you because our organization and every data flow that we use is also really connected to the one that the state is providing us. So there is a big fragmentation in how this actually works. Then, of course, whenever we talk about the damage control, delayed detection of the hotspots, of course, is a great issue, and then the limited assessment possibilities for the severity of the damage as well. Then whenever we know that something has happened, we have to prioritize, and we needed really good data to actually decide which way to go first. And also, it's really important to forecast the outbreak dynamics, and that's also not always good enough. And then, of course, the communication. Whenever something happens, the communication between the monitoring, the planning, and operation that actually carries out the work is usually the challenge. So, to sum everything up, I think what is really needed is that we have a really quick solutions that gives us really good database information. That's it? Oh, okay. I thought it's a lunchtime. Yeah, so it's the last thing. So the data-driven operational decision support is really needed, and of course it is really important for us to have almost the online information available whenever something happens. So for early detection, and the main thing is all of this is important for us to reduce the unnecessary field visits, and in that way we can optimize better the resource allocation. So in general, it all reduces our losses if we can react quickly to the damage, and costs whenever we have to talk about which way go, which is more efficient way to do things. So these are the things that that we need for our daily management. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yanis. Also bear with me like 1 sec. Do we have any question in the public for Yanis? I've got one for you. I see that, and it's quite impressive to see the amount of resource and technology and data that the state is providing. How easy is it to connect private technology on that, not to have like double solution?
From everything that we've seen so far is that there is a will, but very often, you know, we have had also, whenever we talk, for example, the fire monitoring has been a topic actually for many years to actually make it more efficient, because it's at this point it's still manual work, people sitting in the high places and trying to see for the smoke. So it has been some initiatives to actually do it more automatic, and these things have not come through. Maybe it's because the solutions have not been perfect. Maybe we just well, on the national institutional level are too slow, or sometimes, well, afraid maybe of change. So those are the reasons. But in that sense, I think the faster we have to be more. We have to be able to provide the smart, easy, and efficient solutions, and then the communication with the, for example, in our case, with the public sector or the institutions, can go easier. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And maybe before the conclusion of Victoria, one last question, except if someone has a question in the meantime. One last question. How can that technology help you to support you in terms of communication? You've got like Frederic, you have a peri-urban forest. I guess that you have a lot of interaction with the people. It's a social function is quite important. Do you see something that could be improved in the communication with the people or sensibilization to the people through that technology?
Most likely the way we present information and interact, that very often if we try to involve a local population or people that live around in the area to participate in some activities, you know, to give us information. For example, on the garbage, that's also something that we really fight with. A lot of garbage in our forests. We have the system that we ask people to sort of note that there is something is being disposed in the forest. The technology very often would help to have a faster effect back, like whenever they report something, they need also to see what have happened and how fast it has happened without going there and checking themselves. So, for example, these things. But I was hoping that you will give the question that previous two guys or people have with the magic wand, yeah.
Magic wand, but go ahead.
Okay, no, I will just because what I think is really important, these technologies behind the solutions are important, of course, but for us foresters, I think the most important thing is the way you can use it, so that it is easy to use. It is easy for our workers to, or people that work in the forest, to understand what you actually can do with it. So basically, that's also some things that I also say to my people whenever we think about creating something or adapting some technology, is that, well, it can be really difficult or it can be really high tech, but if you can't use it, it's difficult to apply, if it is difficult to understand, it will not be used. So the easiest is, very often I say that for us it is important that you make a solution that have that has 2 or 3 buttons, you know, and one button is, you know, you go and then you come back or something, you know, and that's easy to use. But so that's the thing. I mean, it is important, very important for high technology, but it is also have to be applied for the foresters. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's duly noted. And before the conclusion of the morning, I think it was really interesting to have like the perspective of the public area. And as a takeover, I would say that it's very good that we can have more communication between new techs, public sector, private sector. And I think, Yanis, you had the final words that we need to have a solution that the guy with the field boots can use, even if it's stormy and raining like that. Thank you very much.
So just a quick conclusion word. So we just finalized our morning sessions. We have behind us 4 sessions where, as Geoffroy said, we had a connection between tech companies, but also foresters from private and public sectors, which is very important to meet, to discuss, and to understand each other's needs. So if you have still some questions remaining, please, you will have a moment to discuss them during the lunch. And for the online audience, don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat, and we will try to come back to them. And regarding the sessions in the afternoon, we have 3 sessions in front of us. We will start with the round table with our European level representatives talking about UDR, nature and carbon credits, and other regulations. Then we have presentations from companies discussing biodiversity and certifications in the forest. And we finish with the last session and with SWIFTT platform presentation.